Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, CK4RC. We've got a new name, we've got a new intro. Um, but yeah, still same good old content and same awkward, goofy, uncomfortable me. So thanks for coming back for that. Appreciate it. We have a new addition to the lineup today. So went with the Element Enduro 24 Trailrunner. That's what this one is. They have this Enduro that's more like a pickup truck. This is the Trailrunner. This is it's a Toyota 4Runner, but it's not licensed. So you look there in the grill, it's got the Element logo instead of the Toyota logo, because otherwise Element would have to pay Toyota. But if you're going to try to tell me this isn't a Toyota 4Runner, I'm going to look you dead in your face and say you're a liar. So here we go. Element 24. Let's start with this weird transmitter. First of all, something I should tell you about Element, in case you are not aware, Element is an off-brand of Team Associated. For whatever reason, Team Associated has decided they want to brand their crawlers as Element. I don't know why, but if you look at the transmitter, that's clearly Associated Electronics logo right there. So don't try to tell me it's not Team Associated. I know your tricks. I'm on to you. Anyway, so the thing about this, it's got a nice padded wheel up here, so I always like that instead of like the hard plastic. It just gives it more of a hobby grade feel and less of a cheap toy feel. So I do like that. It is a little far forward though, so whenever I'm test driving this thing and trying to film, you can already assume, yeah, I can't get full extension whenever I go that way. So we can all safely assume it's not going to go well when I'm trying to drive this thing one-handed. We'll see what happens, but I think we all know. So anyway, got some good options up here. It's got a channel 3 button. I don't know why, but it's there. Of course, steering, reverse, normal, whatever. You've got the steering trim, the throttle trim on off, all that good stuff on there. But the weird thing about this transmitter, and I don't understand this. I don't know why they did it this way. Um, but evidently people like it. I've seen enough comments and videos that people appreciate it for whatever reason. The battery door is not down here on the bottom. You have to take the head off. Head? Is that what this thing's called? I don't know. That's what I'm going to call it. Off of there. So now I've just got a handle. There's no pistol. The pistol's over here with the controls because it's a control. And then the battery door right there in the top. You just pop that open, slide the batteries in, and then you slide the head, I don't know, right back on. You're ready to go. The only explainable reason, understandable reason, I don't know. I've heard that people like that is if you're trying to run a couple of these things and do some test runs and comparisons and things like that, then you don't have to have multiple sets of batteries. You can just use the same set of batteries, pop off the head, switch on a different one, and then you're ready to run a different truck. So, okay, fine. I guess I understand that. But still, what's the point? I don't understand. Whatever. Design quirk. I don't know. So let's get into the truck. So we've talked about the body design a little bit. I want to talk about the price point on this thing. So I got mine with a really good deal, came used. That's why I don't have a box to open and do a full unboxing. I'm sure you guys probably aren't going to mind too much. Who likes to watch other people open things? So we'll skip that part. But don't worry, I'm going to be unboxing things in the future with some videos that are coming up. So if you do like that thing, it's coming. If you don't like that thing, we're not doing that today. So a little something for everybody. You know, I aim to please. I already said I'm weird, right? All right, so let's get back to the truck. First thing I notice is these tiny, tiny tires. These things are very small. Um, the other thing I notice is pretty good travel, suspension travel. And those springs compress. That's not bad. Of course, it is, you know, standard kind of friction dampering shocks. They're not oil filled. That's what I'm trying to say. But the tires, the tread, pretty solid. Wraps around to the sides. Pretty soft compound. Not super sticky, but not too bad. They are glued on, so they're not beadlock wheels. But you can see the tread on there. It's not too shabby. Um, so you know you can kind of work with that, and soft foams in there. So I think that it should be able to crawl all right. One thing I do want to point out, Element. Can you explain this to me? fender well, or the fender flare ends here. The body comes down and ends here. It does it on the back too. You know what? There's a line. I can see a line that runs right there. Why not just cut it on that line? And then the body lines match up. Element. What's going on? But back to the body design, the graphics on the side are kind of cool. Kind of gives like a little topographic map in the gray area there for a crawler. That's kind of a cool touch. And then the green trim just to give a little pop of color, just to make it stand out a little bit. So that's not too bad. The other big thing that I notice just from looking at the exterior, there's no lights on this thing. Every other crawler in my lineup and every other crawler I've seen have at least some kind of headlights in the bumper or something. Now, I will also point out, the Trailrunner doesn't come with a bumper. One of the biggest drawbacks of the Sendero is the front bumper sticks out and it gets caught up on things, and it really impacts the approach angle of those vehicles. So with this, they did the bumper delete, it's gone. The posts are still there, and it looks like I might be able to take those off, or if I wanted to, I could probably just clip them and trim them off. Or maybe they're there because in case I wanted to put on like a bumper guard, I could. But no, just the molded bumper and the body there. So no front bumper, but no lights either. Just decals for the headlights, the fog lights, and the tail lights. So just something missing that most other 24 scale rigs have. However, the price point of this coming in new from a retailer for $90 right now, you know, coming into the hobby under triple digits. If they have to get rid of the lights, fine. If you're buying a rig because you want lights, don't buy this one. That's all there is to it. So let's get some of these body clips off, and I'll see if I can take them off without throwing them across the room. The cool thing about this particular model in my hand is that it's already customized in the fact that I can leave this body clip on because the post is broken, so it just stays on. Now, when we get in here, the first thing I'm aware of is several things. How about that? The first thing is several things. So you got the good old, kind of ladder frame design that's pretty standard on these crawlers. 1S LiPo battery. Element. Why'd you go with 1S? Element is made from Team Associated. Team Associated comes from Horizon Hobbies. Guess who else Horizon Hobbies is responsible for? Yeah, Axial. All of their lineup comes with 2S. So Element, why'd you do 1S? I have a feeling this is probably going to be a little underpowered, but I don't know. Maybe that helps with the price too. Who knows? But when you look at it, you've got the 2-in-1 ESC receiver combo right here. Pretty standard. It does have a weird on and off switch. It has like the little waterproof, like soft rubber waterproof cover on it. So I don't know if the electronics are waterproof or not. I haven't looked at the details of this vehicle enough to figure that part out. But the on-off switch makes it look that way. The other thing that jumps out at me is the placement of the electronics here. So we've got a pretty good size can motor up here on the front, right over the front axle. So that should be some pretty good weight distribution, even though it's a little high. It is in the front, so I think that's going to help. The steering servo is also chassis mounted instead of axle mounted. So again, it's right up front, but it does set up a little bit high, although not quite high enough. So we'll come back and talk about that here in just a second. And then the other thing I really like is this divorced transfer case down here. It just separates some of the gearing. It's got a little metal drive shaft in there. Separates some of the gearing and balances out just some of the placement of things. And I think that's really smart. So I like that. But here's the big thing about the design of this truck, the innards. Element didn't do this. Team Associated didn't do this. This is a rebranded RC. I'm drawing a blank right now about the original design company. So I'm drawing a blank on that. If you know what it is, drop it down in the comments. Let us know. Educate me, educate all of us that aren't aware, because I'm drawing a blank right now. But this is a rebranded vehicle. So cool design. Element didn't do that. So I can't give them credit. But but they did utilize it, so I'll give them credit for that at least. You look underneath, you've got true 4-link suspension, front and rear, so that's not too shabby. But then this is where that frame mounted servo starts to come in. If you look at the rear suspension, look at the travel length on that rear suspension. That's not too shabby at all. But if you look at the front, it's not nearly as far, because what's happening is the axle, and it's not even the axle, it's this, some people call this thing a pumpkin. I don't know why. It's kind of weird to me. I'm going to call it a pumpkin because that's what I've heard other people do. That's what the cool kids say. That pumpkin goes right up and it hits that horn on the steering servo under there, and it really messes with the length of travel. So as you can see, like, this is just flat suspension compression right there. There is so much more travel to either side that if you raise this steering servo up just a little bit and get that horn a little more clear, you'll be able to get more suspension travel up front. So that's a pretty easy mod. You can do that if you have some spacers. You can do that, for free basically. The bad thing is, this is already setting up pretty high, so the higher you raise it, the more it's going to mess with your center of gravity. But for the travel, the suspension travel, probably not a bad idea. So a couple, goods and bads, pros and cons, highs and lows. I said goods and bads. Guys, I write books. I'm good with words, believe it or not. And I said goods and bads. Whatever. You have to expect there's going to be some pros and some cons when it comes to these micro crawlers. They are budget rigs, and especially the kick I've been on lately, I've been looking for intro level priced vehicles to see where I can get the best deal. And this Element Enduro 24 Trailrunner coming in at $90 brand new, that's a pretty solid deal. So I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not going to argue about that. It's missing lights. It has some technical issues. And also they just ripped off the design. But you know what? It works. So the other thing I want to point out whenever I was talking about these little bitty tires, like I always do, I want to compare it to a stock deadbolt tire, because the deadbolt is just kind of my baseline gold standard. So let's do that. If I hold up this stock deadbolt wheel right next to this Element Enduro 24 wheel and tire, look how much bigger that deadbolt tire is. Goodness gracious, that's crazy. The width isn't much different, but you can also see that the tread on these little guys is so much better than the tread on these deadbolt wheels. Deadbolt wheels are a little bit stickier, but that tread, and it's actually a softer compound. So I think these things are going to bite pretty good. I think they're going to grip really well. So I'm curious, I'm anxious to see how this thing performs. I am a little bit worried about the size of these pumpkins. It is definitely going to hurt the ground clearance. Look at that thing right in the middle right there, especially with these small tires. Just it doesn't give a whole lot of clearance there. So we'll see how that goes. But you know what? Overall, I'm pretty pleased. I'm pretty impressed with the design. I'm pretty impressed with what I'm seeing in there. Aside from the 1S battery, I'm still a little bit confused about that. But overall, for the price point and the quality of vehicle, I'm not going to complain. So thanks for stopping by. Leave me a comment. What are your thoughts about this? Do you have one? Have you run one? Are you curious about them? Leave me a comment. Hit that like button. That's simple. Do that while you're here. Just go downstairs, hit that like button real quick. It's probably right around down here somewhere. So do that. Subscribe. That's a cool thing to do. And then more people see stuff. So yeah, that's cool. I just gave you the fawns for some reason. Thanks for coming back. I will be back shortly with a test run video and see how this thing holds up and compares to the trusty deadbolt. But for now, that's the tour of the truck, the introduction of the Element Enduro 24 Trailrunner. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you soon.